This is our first video where I'll be reading the book Mockingbird to you. It's my belief that if you hear the story directly in your ears through your earphones, you'll probably understand it a little bit better than if I was reading it in class with all the distractions around you. So I'll read for about 15 or 20 minutes, which is pretty much all we can handle or take of someone reading to us. And at the end of the video, I'll have some thoughts about what we've read, and at the bottom of the video I'll post questions for you to answer so that I know you're understanding and doing the work. So Mockingbird is a book about a girl with Asperger's who loses her brother, who was her best friend, and it's about how she deals with that. Chapter 1. Devon's chest. It looks like a one-winged bird crouching in the corner of our living room, hurt, trying to fly every time the heat pump turns on with a click and a groan and blows cold air onto the street and lifts it up and flutters for just a moment and then falls down again, still, dead. Dad covered it with the gray sheet so I can't see it, but I know it's there, and I can still draw it. I take my charcoal pencil and copy what I see. A gray, squarish thing that's almost as tall as me, with only one wing. Underneath the sheet is Devon's Eagle Scout project. It's the chest Dad and Devon are making, so he'll be ready to teach other Boy Scouts how to build a chest. I feel all around the sheets just to be sure his chest is underneath. It's cold and hard and stiff on the outside and cavernous on the inside. My dictionary says cavernous means filled with cavities or hollow areas. That's what's on the inside of Devon's chest, hollow areas. On the outside is the part that looks like the bird's broken wing because the sheet hangs off of it loosely. Under the sheet is a piece of wood that's going to be the door once Dad and Devon finish the chest. Except now I don't know how they can, now that Devon is gone. The bird will be trying to fly out, but never getting anywhere, just floating and falling, floating and falling. The gray of outside is inside, inside the living room, inside the chest, inside me. It's so gray that turning on a lamp is too sharp, and it hurts, so the lamps are off, but it's still too bright. It should be black inside, and that's what I want, so I put my head under the sofa cushion, where the green plaid fabric smells like Dad's sweat and Devon's socks and my popcorn, and the cushion feels soft and heavy on my head, and I push deeper so my shoulders and chest can get under it too, and there's a weight on me that holds me down and keeps me from floating and falling and floating and falling like a bird. Chapter 2. Look at the person. Caitlin, Dad says. The whole town is upset by what happened. They want to help. How? They want to be with you, talk to you, take you places. Well, I don't want to be with them or talk to them or go places with them. He sighs. They want to help you deal with life, Caitlin, without Devon. I don't know what this means, but the people come to our house. I wish I could hide in Devon's room, but I'm not allowed in there now, not since the day our life fell apart. And Dad slammed Devon's door shut and put his head against it and cried and said, "No, no, no, no." So I can't go to my hidey hole in Devon's room any more, and I miss it. I try to hide in my room and draw, but Dad comes and gets me. There are so many voices in our house, voices from Devon's Boy Scout troop. I recognize their green pants and the very nice things they say about Devon. Voices of relatives. Dad introduces me to them. He says, "You remember," and then he says a name. I say no because I don't remember. Dad says to look at the person, so I look quickly at a nose or a mouth or an ear, but I still don't remember. One voice says, I'm your second cousin. Another says, wasn't it a beautiful memorial service? Another says, I love your drawings. You're a very talented artist. Will you draw something for me? One even says, aren't you lucky to have so many relatives? I don't feel lucky, but they keep coming. Relatives we hardly saw when Devon was here, so how can they help? Neighbors like the man who yelled at Devon to get off his lawn, how can he help? People from school, Mrs. Brooke, my counselor, Miss Harper, the principal, all my teachers since kindergarten, except my real 5th grade teacher because she left after what happened at Devon's school. I don't get it because nothing bad happened at James Madison Elementary School, so why did she have to leave? Now Mrs. Johnson is my teacher. She didn't even know Devon except she watched him play basketball, she says. Twice. I've watched the LA Lakers play more than twice. I don't try to help them. Caitlin, if you ever want to talk about what happened to you, just let me know, Mrs. Johnson says. That's what Mrs. Brooke is for, I tell her. Maybe we could all sit down together. Why? So we know where you're coming from. I look around the living room and stare at the sheet-covered chest. I come from here. I'm sorry, I meant so we all know how you're feeling. Oh, Mrs. Brooke knows how I'm feeling, so you can find out from her. I would be superfluous. My dictionary says superfluous means exceeding what is sufficient or necessary. Well, I just thought it would be nice to take some time to sit and chat. I shake my head. Superfluous also means marked by wastefulness. Well, okay then, she says. I suppose I can talk with Mrs. Brooke. Mrs. Brooke says you can talk with her any time because her door is always open, I tell Mrs. Johnson. Actually, it's almost always closed, but if you knock, then she remembers to open it. Thank you, Caitlin. She doesn't move. This means she's waiting for me to say something. I hate that. It makes my underarms prickle and get wet. I almost start sucking my sleeve like I do at recess, but then I remember. You're welcome, I say. She moves away. I got it right. I go to the refrigerator and put a smiley face sticker on my chart under Your Manners. 7 more and I get to watch a video. When I turn away from the fridge, I see a puffy blue marshmallow wall in front of me. It smells of apple cinnamon Pop-Tarts and breathes noisily. It's another neighbor or relative. I don't know which. Her hands are shaking. One hand has a tissue, and the other hand she holds out to me. There's a white circle in it. Would you like this candy? I don't know. I've never had her candy before, so I don't know if I'll like it. But I like just about every candy in the galaxy. I don't like being trapped by the puffy blue wall like this, though. Take it, she says, and pushes it into my hand. So I take it just to get her hand off of mine because her hand is squishy and flabby and makes me feel sick. Have another, she says. I take it quickly so I won't have to feel her hand again. She tries to pat my head with the candy hand, but I duck. I run and hide behind Dad and eat the candy. They are mints. I wish they were gummy worms because that's my favorite, but I deal with it. The good thing is I can't talk when my mouth is full because that's rude. So if I keep my mouth full, I can be in my own Caitlin world. When I finish the candy, I still don't want to talk, so I push my head under Dad's sweater and feel the warmth of his chest as he breathes up and down, and I smell his Gillette Cool Wave antiperspirant and deodorant. He doesn't even say no, Caitlin, and pull me out. He lets me stay there and pats my head through the sweater. If it's through the sweater, I don't mind. Otherwise, I don't like anyone to touch me. Dad talks to the world outside the sweater, and his voice makes a low, hummy, vibraty feel. I close my eyes and wish I could stay here forever. So, pretty interesting story so far. We're kind of getting a sense of this little girl, Caitlin, and what Asperger's actually is. You can see the way she reacts to people and the thoughts in her head and how Asperger's affects behavior and thoughts. So you'll be getting a better understanding of this syndrome, I guess you could call Asperger's a syndrome. And I hope you're realizing that at this point her brother has died and this is the funeral. So all these people are coming up to her and trying to comfort her, but because of her Asperger's, and because her brother has just passed, she handles it a bit differently than you might imagine.